So, hello everyone. I hope I'm audible to all of you. My name is Sonu Satyadas, and I am the Assistant Manager Technology at Synergetics. And I am into training from last 16 years, mostly working with AI and cloud technologies. So, this session is all about the GitHub Copilot. So, just giving a brief about the GitHub Copilot and generative AI service. So anyway, it's already late to start, so let's quickly jump into the session. So let me share my screen. I hope the screen is visible to all of you. So today we are going to see how generative AI tools like a GitHub Copilot is helping us to build the AI powered applications. So how we can quickly build the applications using the generative AI services. So the agenda of today's session is this: understanding the generative AI and its use cases, the GitHub Copilot and its features, understanding the GitHub Copilot capabilities, and understand the agents for coding and crafting the prompts with context. And I'll show you a demo how to build a simple website using the Copilot. And finally, I'll just guide you how you can get the Copilot subscription. So what is generative AI? So now most of you must be already aware about what is generative AI, or you will be already using some of the generative AI tools like a ChatGPT or Copilot and so and so. And now in social media, whatever contents that you see, whether it is a blog, story, images, videos, everything is now created using the generative AI. So what is generative AI? So this is a new category of AI models which can generate some content based on your request or based on your input. So you will be writing your input in simple text format, which we call as prompt. So you can describe what you are expecting from the AI model. Just write a simple description in natural language, whether you want to generate a text content like program code, stories, blogs, articles, or anything. Or it can be some images. You can describe what kind of image you want, what should be the color, what should be the image style, whether it is a realistic image or it's a cartoon image or a vivid style, or you can even create the videos using the generative AI. So generative AI models are now mostly used to build the contents like a text, code, images, videos, and more. But suppose if you are into application development or you are interested in programming, can I use generative AI in our programs or in our programming tools and technologies? Yes, you can use generative AI based tools to build applications also. You can use it for code generation, means instead of you write the code, you can ask generative AI models to write the code for you. Even sometimes you don't need to go and write the code. You just need to start writing the code. Maybe first one word or two word when you write, it will show the complete code that you want to create. So based on what you have already typed or based on what you have given as a comment, it will it will be able to generate the code for you. So that's called the code generation capability. So sometimes if you have created a project, maybe in your colleges, you will be creating a project and you are handing over this project to somebody else, but it will be difficult for them to understand what is this project, what are the modules, what kind of features and functionalities it has. So we need to document this project code. So you can use generative AI to analyze your code and generate a detailed documentation for your application code. You can also do code translations. Means uh, as a developer, what I face mostly is, suppose if I want to implement a particular feature or functionality. So I'll go to Google and search for, okay, can you give me the code for this particular purpose? So it can give you a code, or the Google search can give you a code, but it's mostly in a different language. Different language, what it means? I'm talking about the programming languages. Suppose I am a .NET C# language programmer, but when I search, I may be getting a Python code, or I'm getting a C++ code, or I may be getting a Java code. So what I want is the C# code. So no worries, you can take that Python code or Java code and give to the generative AI model and ask this generative AI model or generative AI tools to convert that into C# or some other language that you are looking for. And as a programmer, whatever code you have written, after you complete the coding, you have to write simple test cases to verify whether the code is working as expected. So how you will verify the code, whether it is providing the correct results based on the given input. So for that, typically we write unit testing. So unit test functions can be created or generated using the generative AI. You don't need to write that unit testing code also. And it's give you troubleshooting help. Means in case if you stuck somewhere because there is some bugs, there is some errors in your code and you are not able to go ahead, no problem, you can ask generative AI for the solution. So it helps you in debugging and troubleshooting. You can provide the context, the error message to the generative AI model and ask, okay, I'm getting this error. What is the reason and how I can rectify this problem? So the generative AI tools and services can help you to fix that problem. Code review. Obviously, if you are a programmer, our intention is to create optimized code, which means high performance, high quality code. But how I will know that the code which I have written is a high quality code? It is following all the best practices. No worries. You can ask generative AI tools or generative AI models to review your code so that it can tell you whether the code is following the best practices or not. So, do you have any such tools which is powered by generative AI models and I can use it for developing the applications? So, in the previous slide, I have explained some of the features or some of the use cases of generative AI models in the application development. or in the project development. So is there any built-in tool available for doing these operations? The answer is yes, and that is GitHub Copilot. It's a Microsoft product, okay, from GitHub. You can get a subscription of GitHub Copilot, and you can install the GitHub Copilot plugin inside your programming IDE, whether you are using Visual Studio Code, or Eclipse, or any other IDE. IDE means it's simple, the user interface for developing the code. So you can install the plugin and log into your GitHub Copilot subscription, and you can simply start using it. So it provides multiple generative AI models, that is large language models. It's not only providing a single model, because you must have heard about the generative AI models from Google, that is Gemini model, from Meta, that is Llama models, from OpenAI, there is GPT models, from Anthropic, there is Sonnet models or Opus model or Haiku models, DeepSeek models. So there are different generative AI models available, and they are not providing the same features and functionality. So depends on your use case, you can try different models. So some of the models are very good in generating a Java code. Some of them are very good in generating a .NET code. Some of them are very good in designing the UI. Some of them will be very good in the database operations. So what is the kind of operation you are going to perform? You can choose the appropriate model in GitHub Copilot to perform that operation. I will show you how to do that. And as I mentioned, you can use this GitHub Copilot inside your IDE, that is Integrated Development Environment, or even you can use it in your command line in environment, that is command line interface, like a command terminal, or you can use this in the github.com, which is the coding repository, the code repository in the cloud. So you can directly use the GitHub Copilot from the browser also. It can provide the real-time code suggestions, supports multiple languages like Java, .NET, Python, C, C++, JavaScript, many language support. And very interesting thing is, most of the time you don't need to go and write or instruct the model like these are the things that I already have, and you need to help me on generating this. It can understand the code base, that is the context. You don't, most of the time you don't need to go and tell the model or tell the copilot, okay, these are the things I already have and I want to create this. So it will automatically understand from the code base what is required for completing the operation. So GitHub Copilot product is available for individuals. That means if you are not part of any company, any organization, still you can get the access to the GitHub Copilot. But mostly the organizations, larger companies will buy the subscriptions and give these subscriptions to their employees. So I can show you a very simple example of the code completions, Copilot chat, and Copilot edits. So code completion, as I mentioned earlier, it simply uh, generate the code based on what you have already created. Copilot chat is another feature offered by Copilot, which will give you a chat interface, and you can converse with the generative AI models using the chat window. Suppose if you have any questions about your code, or you want to fix some problems in your code, you can use the chat window to interact with the Copilot. Copilot Edit is another feature which is now powered by agents to automatically modify or update the code in your code base. Means in your folder, if you have one or more code files, it can read all these code files, make the appropriate changes in multiple files. So with the help of agents, it will do that operation. So now the question is, what is an agent? So agent is nothing but it's a software that is using a large language model and a set of tools. Tools means simple functions to perform the actions. So the large language models will help the agent help the agent to understand which of the functions can be used for completing the task. Suppose if I have to connect to database, then it will use a function to connect to the database. If I have to read or write something to the file, the large language model will tell the agent, okay, now you can use this function to write and read the data from the file. So agent is a collection of or combination of large language model and a group of tools. So now most of the generative AI services that you are using, it may be uh, Copilot, or it may be ChatGPT, or it may be clouded desktop. All of them are agent based. And now I can show you a very simple example of how to use this Copilot. Let me open the Visual Studio Code. So this is the Visual Studio Code interface. Here, I don't have any code files, just a simple folder. What is this folder? I will explain later. So I am going to write a simple Python code. Maybe I can give the name as main.py. I hope Python you can understand. If you are not understanding the program code, no worries. Now I can write a simple function for performing a binary sort. So I can start writing the code. This is a Python function definition. I'm writing this, and then you can see it is suggesting something. But instead of that, I can type my own function name like binary search. You can see whenever I type, it is automatically suggesting the complete list of code. Can you see it is suggesting the function code? But you can see this function is not complete. It's halfway. So you can press the tab to complete. Now to continue with the remaining lines of code, wait for a few seconds. So it will automatically suggest the remaining piece of code. Look at that. I have done with my code. Now if I have to write a function to read some data from a file, so I can use a function or I can write a function read CSV file, and then I can give a file path. So you can see file path is the required parameter. So it's automatically suggesting. So I can press the tab to accept the suggestion. And when I press enter, it is going to suggest the remaining piece of code. Can you see? It is automatically suggesting that. Okay. So you can see it. This operation is expecting some Python library to be downloaded. And you can see it is also giving the suggestion. Okay, CSV is a library that we have to import. So it is giving the suggestion. I can just click so that at the top of this, it is suggesting that. So now you may be wondering, okay, for Python, it is working. Will it work with the JavaScript or Java or C Sharp? Yes. So I can show you an example with JavaScript also. Maybe app.js is a JavaScript file, and I want to create a function to uh, maybe I have to connect with an external HTTP API. Call HTTP API. So can you see it is automatically suggesting the code for that. So that means I have to call the HTTP API, which is a REST API. So it's creating or it is suggesting the code for that. So this way I can use the generative AI models to write my complete application itself. So now it's not necessary that you have to start writing the code. In your natural language prompt, you can write your requirement. For example, so here I can write a comment saying that create a create an employee class with the members ID, name, email, designation, and salary. Add the methods to set the values for the member variables and display the employee details. So I have written this in simple natural language prompt, what is expected. And you can see it is automatically suggesting that class employee. I can press the tab to complete the suggestion. So after that, it is suggesting the remaining piece of code. You can see it is suggesting the code, right? So this is providing the setter method as well as the display method for this. So without writing a single line of code, I'm able to complete this file. You can see it's an employee class created. Yes. Okay. So now this is fine. I'm able to go and create code, or I can write the code in each and every file. But the question, is it possible to create a complete application? The answer is yes. But understand, generative AI is just a AI service. It can make mistakes. Sometimes it makes mistake, means sometimes it may not uh, fulfill all your requirements because there may be some understanding issue from your query. So whatever you are writing, if it is not able to understand completely, you you cannot expect the AI to generate the completely working code. But yes, it can create the complete application also. So that I will explain you later how to do that. So this is the code completion suggestions. I have showed you the Python as well as the JavaScript examples. Now I have also mentioned something about the chat. So what is this chat? Here in Visual Studio Code, on the top you can see there is a chat icon. When I click on that, it opens a chat window on the right side. Here you will be able to see a simple chat text box at the bottom, and you can see a list of models here. Can you see what are the different generative AI models supported by GitHub Copilot? It is providing GPT 4.1, GPT 4o, GPT 5 mini, Cloud Haiku, Sonnet 4.5, Gemini model, and many other models are supported. Still, I can go and add more models into this. So I have already enabled a large set of models, but still I can go and enable more models. And you can also see here, it is providing different mode. Here is ask mode, plan mode, and agent mode. So simply if you have to ask something to the generative AI model, you don't want to execute anything, you just have some doubt. Okay, you can ask the questions to the generative AI models about your program code. So if you ask a question which is not related to your program code, it cannot answer. So what you are supposed to ask is something related to your program code. Maybe I can uh, ask about this code. So I'm a developer. This is an auto-generated code, or I have copied this code from somewhere, but I'm not understanding what is this code. It's a little complicated and it's little difficult to understand. So no problem. I can go back to my Copilot chat and ask, what is this code? Explain it. Now you may be wondering, I'm just writing what is this code and explain it. So which code I'm asking? You can see here just above this text what I have written or what I have typed. There is the file which is selected is app.js. That is the current file. And you can see a number range here 1 to 12. So what is this 1 to 12? It is a line numbers from line number 1 to line number 12, which means the Copilot is selecting or understanding the user is asking the question about the app.js file, but that also not the complete code. He is asking about from line number 1 to 12 or 2 to 12. You can see now it is 2 to 12. Now if I click on this send button, my request will go to Copilot model, that is GPT model what is selected. Here you can see GPT 4.1 is the model which is selected. And you can see it's giving the explanation of that code. Like the code contains two main part. So this is the function. The function uses the XML HTTP request object to make an HTTP GET request to the specified API endpoint. When the request completes successfully, that is, if the ready state is 4, that means the request completed, and the return status code is 200, that means OK status, it update the HTML element with the ID demo to display the response text to the API. So this is the explanation of this code. Okay, suppose if I am not satisfied with this code, so can I get some simple code for this? This is a little difficult to understand. No problem. Keeping this conversation context alive, I can write the next prompt. Okay, I'm chatting with the prompt. Can you convert the call HTTP API method using fetch API? So fetch API is a built-in JavaScript library which or built-in JavaScript API for making calls to the external API. So I want to convert this because this code is little difficult to understand. So I want to convert this using a simple fetch API. So let me ask. Now you can see, yes, it's saying, yes, I can do that for you. And it will give the code for that. Yes, this is the fetch API code. No problem. You can see it is suggesting the code, but it is using some promise-based example like a dot then dot catch, etc. This is again little complicated, but I know that in JavaScript there is some concept called asynchronous operation, async and await. So can I convert this code into asynchronous format or async await format? No need to retype the code. I can just ask next question like can you update the code to use the async await method. So I'm not saying which code to update because from the conversation history, it is understanding, okay, we have already generated a code. Now he is expecting that code to be updated into a next format. You can see here it is. So here it is updating this method with the async and await keywords. You can see. So I can copy this code and paste it here, or here you can see this is the existing code. There is no changes. If I have to replace or if I have to update in my file, I can simply click on this apply to app.js. When I click on this, you will see it's automatically updates my file, means the code which is showing in the red color means this is the old code which is removed, and the one which is showing in the green, it means this is the newly added code. So if I click on this keep button, you can see it's simply updated. So my application code is now updated with a new piece of code. So see how simply I am able to update my code. I'm not writing any single line of code. I'm just conversing with the generative AI model in the natural language, right? In simple English, I'm conversing with the models. Now, suppose I have this code with me. So this is my code. I'm just taking a copy of this code. Now what I am expecting is, so I just cleared the chat because my first requirement is over. So I can clear the chat and start a new conversation. Now I want to do something with the Python. See, I already have JavaScript code for calling the external API. But the same feature I want to implement in Python also. But unfortunately, I don't know how to write the equivalent code for this in Python. So this is the JavaScript code for making a call to the external API. But I want to implement the same thing in Python also, but unfortunately, I don't know how to do that. No worries. What you can do, go to the Copilot chat and ask, okay, I have the JavaScript code to call an external API, external REST API using fetch. I need the equivalent Python code for that. Translate the code to translate the below code to Python. So I already have the JavaScript code. Now I want to translate this into Python. So let me paste that JavaScript code here. So you can see the code which I have copied from the other file. This is the JavaScript code. I'm pasting it here and making a request. So let's see whether it will create the equivalent Python code. Yes, you can see here is the equivalent Python code. Okay, that is using the request API. So in JavaScript, it use the fetch API, but here in Python, it use the request API. You can see this is the equivalent code for that. I can copy this code from here, and wherever I want, I can paste it. Suppose in the above, I want to paste it, I can simply paste this code. You can see I am able to generate the Python code from the JavaScript code. So I didn't write anything explicitly in Python. So I just copy pasted that JavaScript code and translated this into a different language. Now you can see here this code is just a program code is written. There is no description about the functions. You can see there is no description about the functions. Now what I want is I want to provide some documentation for each and every function. So like what is this function is doing? I need to provide the documentation comment or documentation for each and every function. So it can be for JavaScript or maybe for Python. So what I can do, I'll go to the chat again, but this time, since I have to make the changes directly inside the file, I don't use the ask mode. Here you can see there are three modes. We have agent, ask, and plan. So ask mode means if you want to converse with the model in the chat window, then use the ask mode. It never update in the code file directly. But now I want to update the code file directly. So I can switch to the agent mode. Now this I want to update or I want to use a different model. So since now beginning I was using the GPT-4 means I was using this GPT-4 model. Now I want to try with a different model. Maybe I can use this Haiku model. I switch to a different generative AI model and I can write the code, add a documentation to the Python functions. Simple, simple English statement. I am specifying in the chat and see instead of generating the code in the chat window, it will now go and directly modify the file. See, you can see it is editing the file. Can you see it's directly updated the file? So whatever showing in the green is the newly added lines. If you are okay, you have to review whether it is added correctly because this is just an AI. AI can make mistakes. So you have to review what it is doing so you can verify whether this documentation is correct or not. If you feel yes, this is okay, I can click on keep button to keep that. So it is added. Now this is added here. The second function, binary search documentation. If you feel that this is also correct, click on keep. Okay. And here there is there was a blank line. That blank line is removed. That's why it is in red. And the green lines means they are newly added one. I'll click on this keep. So now you can see this has added the documentation. Now when I put the mouse on top of this function, it will show the documentation. Can you see? This is for the documentation. Okay. Now we have discussed or we have seen how the Copilot can generate the code completions, means automatically suggest the code for me, and also how it is understanding the context, like which file I'm editing, which lines of code I have selected. This all it understand, that is called the context. Okay. And it is providing all the recommendations in the code file. In Copilot chat, we have asked some questions. We have asked to explain the code. We asked the Copilot chat to make some changes, that is refactoring the code we have done. And in using the agent mode, we have updated the files directly inside our project. So what are the capabilities of Copilot? We have already discussed some of them, like intelligent code suggestions. It understand your code and provide some improved suggestions, like what changes can be made on the code. Test case generations. If you have to generate unit test code, you can generate the unit test cases using the Copilot. Documentations. I have showed you this because here how to generate the documentation comments. Just now I showed you how to generate that. Code refactoring. That means if you feel the code is not easy to understand or it is not optimized, you can ask Copilot to optimize this code, means to uh, uh, optimize the code for performance, security, and reliability. And security analysis. Suppose if you see some vulnerabilities inside your code, the Copilot can identify the security vulnerabilities. For example, you have hard coded some password. The Copilot will suggest you, okay, hard coding the password is not a good practice because somebody else can steal the data. Or if you are providing some authentication keys directly inside your code, or you are writing the SQL queries directly inside your code. So it will say that, okay, there is a chance of SQL injection attack. So don't write your SQL queries directly inside your code. So this kind of suggestions related to the security can be provided by Copilot. And an interesting thing about these generative AI tools is the agents. So you must have seen agents in other generative AI tools also. Means if you are using ChatGPT, so you most of you must be already using ChatGPT or clouded desktop, something like that. So agents are something which can use some tools to perform the operations. Now you may be wondering what is meant by a tool. So tool is nothing but it's just a function written for performing some operation. For example, let me show you an example. This is a chat GPT. Let me, yeah. So this is chat GPT. So chat GPT is internally using some tools. You can see here when you click here, it is using a web search tool. Okay. So web search is a built-in tool that it is using. So I am going to demonstrate the tool usage not in ChatGPT. There is another software I have, that is Anthropic Cloud Desktop. So this is similar to ChatGPT only. You can see it here. This is also providing a web search. Okay. So web search is a tool that is written in Python or some other language. What is the purpose of that is it can connect to the internet and search for some information. Maybe behind the scene it is doing a Google search or Bing search or some other kind of web search it does and provides you the answer for your query. So why tool is important? Because suppose if I'm not going to use the tool, okay, and I'm going to ask a question. The generative AI model may not give you, it may not be able to give you the correct answer because the models that we are using here, you can see it is Opus model, Sonnet model, Haiku models. There are different models. So currently it is Sonnet model. So these models are pre-trained. Pre-trained means they are trained some time back. They don't know anything about something which has happened recently. So for example, 2, 3, or 4 days back, or maybe a week back. I'm not sure when it is. So India has won the under 19 cricket World Cup. That is T20 World Cup, right? So that is already happened. Maybe a week before or 2 weeks before it happened. So now I want to ask a question to this, like who won the under 19 cricket World Cup match or cup final in 2026. In 2026, who won the Under 19 Cricket World Cup final? So this is a question I am asking. When I ask this, let's see what answer it gives. See, it is simply saying I don't have the information about this Under 19 Cricket World Cup match happened in 2026. The reason is this model is little old model. This is already trained and it no informations only till January 2025. So if you ask something which is happened after January 2025, it cannot answer that because it's a knowledge cutoff. It's a knowledge cutoff date is January 2025. So anything which you ask which is happened after January 2025, it cannot answer. It will say that I don't know. But now here is the use of tools. But this information is already available on internet. So I can use some tool to connect to the internet and search for the appropriate data. And then based on the search result, the model can give the answer. That's the reason we enable the tool here. So currently the tool is not enabled. Now when I select the web search, it is enabling the web search tool. You can see the tick mark here. Now the same question I am going to ask. There's no changes in the question. I will repeat the same question. See, you can see it is searching the web. Because the web search tool is enabled, it is searching the web and it is connecting with the different websites, Wikipedia and many other websites, and getting some information. Based on that information, it is generating the final answer. Can you see? According to the informations collected from Wikipedia, ICC Cricket, and many other websites, it is saying that India won the Under 19 Cricket World Cup, which is happened in 2026. So, what is the tool? Tool is actually used to perform some operation. So, this is one example of the tool, that is web search tool. So, if you ask some real-time data, the model cannot answer because models are trained long back. So if you need some real-time answer, the web search will connect to the internet, search for that and provide the appropriate answer. Okay. So now in GitHub Copilot, here also, whenever you switch to the agent mode, here you can see this is the agent mode. This is using a set of tools. Can you see a set of tools like a web search? Here also a web search information available. Can you see web? So similarly, it is having lots of tools already configured. So these tools are used to perform the operations. Okay, that means automated task will be executed. So you do, it's not just editing the code based on the pre-trained knowledge. So far what we did or what we saw is it is just updating the code based on what it already know. But if I have to do some complex operations, maybe a multi-step operations, the Copilot is using the agent mode and it make use of multiple tools to complete the operation. Let's see that. But before that, couple of more points we have to understand. Agent mode and edit mode. So edit mode means it is simply making changes inside your code based on what knowledge it already has. But agent mode means it is able to go and perform complex operations. It may be a multi-step operation and it will automatically connect to the appropriate services to complete the operation. Suppose in between if there is something error happened, it will automatically fix that problem and then continue. But in edit mode, if there is some error happened, it will stop there. Okay, it just used to edit the file, but agent mode is used to perform some complex operations. I'll show you an example for that. But before that, you also need to understand crafting the prompt. What is meant by a prompt? In the beginning, I have clearly mentioned prompt is the text input that you are providing to the generative AI models. Based on the generative AI models only, it is going to perform the operations. So if your prompt is not very clear, then model cannot understand what you are expecting. So you have to write very clear and specific prompt, like what is expected, what are the things to be done, okay, what are the things to use, all you have to clear. So let me continue. Sorry, I was discussing about the agents. So inside the GitHub Copilot, we have this agent mode, which uses a set of tools. And these tools, if you want to use effectively, you have to write the prompt properly. So what is the prompt? A prompt is the text input that you are writing to your generative AI models. So when you write the prompt, it should be very clear and specific. It should include the required informations for completing the task. That is called the context. And you also need to specify like what kind of application you want, which language to use, which version of the framework to be used. This all need to be written properly. And it's, if possible, you can also provide some examples. So what is the benefit of giving example? You can also understand if I am asking you to do something, or okay, if I am asking you to prepare some report, you may be wondering, okay, what is the format of the report or how the report looks like? What are the informations to include in the report? But what if I am providing some example, some sample report? It will be very helpful for you to understand, right? So similarly, if you can provide some examples like what is expected or what is a format expected, so that sample you can provide, it will be increasing the accuracy and relevancy of the response. And context, I have already said what is required to complete the operations. You may need to provide that information along with your text input. So it may be a file, or it may be a folder, or it may be the list of tools that you want to use. So that you can add along with your request. So maybe when you use the chat GPT, you will be asking the chat GPT to create a report, maybe project report. But what is the sample format? You can upload a sample format, maybe in the image format or PDF format, you can upload. So ChatGPT can see that format and it can generate the similar format response, right? So that is the context means. You are also providing some informations like files, folders, tools, etc. And very, very important thing what you need to understand, don't assume that generative AI will always do only the right things and it will always succeed in the first attempt. Sometimes you may have to do things in multiple steps, means repeatedly you have to do to achieve the goal. So, refine and iterate means every time you do, it will generate maybe 50% correct output. Then you again ask the Copilot, okay, these are something which is missing. So please include this and then generate. then next time it will generate maybe 70% accurate response. But still something is missing or something is wrong. You can mention, modify the prompt and say that, okay, your output is almost correct, but still something is missing, and this is the points we need to include, or this is the format we are expecting. Then rerun this prompt, so it will generate the response. Maybe this time it will be maybe 90 or 95% correct. So don't expect that it will do everything correctly in the first attempt. You have to reiterate. Let me show you a simple demo how to create a website. So website means what I'm going to do is I'm creating an API application with a user front end. So API application means I'm creating a RESTful API. This is a .NET REST API application which is connecting to a database. Inside the database, I'm going to store some books data. It's a book library management application. So books data I can store inside the database. So I want to write the complete database operations inside the REST API. Also, I want to create a front-end application. This I can create in React.js. So this is a .NET API and this front-end is React. So where I have the forms, menus, etc. So this front-end application is going to communicate with the backend API to perform the CRUD operations. Let's see how we can generate that. I said, if you want the generative AI model to perform some operations, you need to explain everything using prompt. So writing prompt is very important. So don't worry. In GitHub Copilot, we can write the prompt using some prompt files. So you can directly write your prompt inside the chat window, no problem. But if you want to reuse and modify the prompt multiple times, it's always better to write the prompt in a file. So GitHub Copilot chat is providing an option to create the prompt file. So when you create a prompt file, it will ask you to create a prompt inside the .github/prompts folder. You can specify a name for the file. So I have already created a prompt. There are two prompt files I have created. One prompt file is for creating the web API. So if you open this, you can see it's a markdown file and it is written clearly what is expected from this project. You can see this is the name of that prompt file. This is a simple description of the prompt file, and what is the actual prompt is written here. See, I want to create a .NET Core web API application. Maybe I can say .NET 8 web API application to perform the CRUD operations on the book entity. So I have to create a book class and perform the book operations. Like a book class contains the members like a book ID, title, author, language, genre, price, and publication year or published year. And what are the things to be included in the project? The project needs to use the entity framework and SQLite for database operations. Then it should use code first approach for code first migrations. It should perform the read, write, update operations, that is CRUD operations. And also there should be a search operation supported. Use the repository pattern for developing the project. Course policy for cross-domain access. Provide the basic data validations. Enable Swagger API. So this is, if you are a developer, you can easily understand what is this. It's not complicated thing. Now I want to generate this project. no problem. What I can do, I can switch to the ask mode. Then I will write slash new command. Slash new means it's a command, and I can say create a web API project using the instructions given in which file. So I have given the hash symbol, and then I can select which file this. So I'm just writing a simple prompt like a create a web API project using the instructions given in this. So let me run this prompt. Yes, it has suggested the entire project structure. I can create a project. So inside the same folder, I'm saving this. Now it's going to create the project here. So this is a .NET 8 Web API. So there could be some mistakes that's expected. So now it has created the project structure, but now I have to compile and build this project. So when I will first manually compile this, so using the .NET build command, I can compile this code. Okay, sorry. Let's go to the project folder, book API and SRC. So I'm running the .NET build command. So you can see there is some error. So I don't understand what is this error. So what I can do, I can switch to the agent mode and ask the agent like fix the errors and run the project book API. So book API project I want to run. So fix the errors and run it. Now I can sit and relax. Everything will be done by the Copilot agent. So I just need to provide some approvals whenever it is asking to do something. You can see it is identifying that there is some error, then it will go and fix that error. See, it is installing the required packages. Even if there is error, no worries. You don't need to do anything. Copilot will automatically fix it for you. Okay, this time I think there is no errors, so it's trying to run it. Okay, so it is running the project successfully. So let me verify whether there is any database created. So it has not created the database. So I can ask Copilot to do the code first migrations and create the database with some sample data. Yes, you can see it is executing the migrations to create the database. You can see there is a books DB is created. Okay. Okay, so it has compiled this project and created. It is testing whether this API is working successfully or not. It's invoking all the REST APIs and everything is fixed. Now it is run. It's fine. So it has created the project. Now I can use this .NET build command here to verify everything is fine. Okay, build has succeeded. Then .NET run command to run it. If there is something. I think the host socket is already used. Let me stop it. Port number is already used. Okay, here it is. HTTPS redirection is not there. You can see it is giving an empty list of books. So I want some sample books to be added. So what I can do, I can ask the Copilot to add some sample books also. Let me write a prompt like add some sample books, some real sample books to the database and enable HTTPS port for the application. So now it will automatically do this operations, add some sample books and run the application in HTTPS also. Currently it is supporting only HTTP. Okay, so I think it is now completed. Now let me run this again. Again, the port number is still in use because the agent has used it. Okay, HTTPS. Swagger is not there. Okay, no problem. You can see some sample books data. So I think there are 8 books added. Now I need to add a Swagger documentation also to this because Swagger documentation is very important. So I'll just quickly add that also and show you how to create a front end also. Swagger documentation. So to this project, I am adding the Swagger documentation. Okay, so I think it is running successfully. Again, there is now let me run this project and here try the Swagger endpoint or Swagger documentation. This is the Swagger documentation for the API project. So now I need to save this somewhere in my project folder. Now I need to create a front-end application. Okay, so let me go and open this in another VS Code because I want or I want to create front-end application for that. So let's open this, create a front-end application. Again, I'm switching to ask mode and show like a new command and say create a React 17 application using the instructions given in the another prompt file is there. So I have another prompt file that is this front end prompt file. So here I have clearly mentioned that I want to create a front end application using React. So it's going to save this front end application in the same root folder. Let's create this front end application and I can check the UI. So UI may not be good. We can ask the Copilot to design the UI also. It's creating all the required files inside this. Okay. So it has created. Now I can open another command terminal, cd npm start. Okay, it's giving error. So I can ask Copilot to fix the errors and run it. So fix the errors and run in the React project. Then I can specify the context. I can specify the folder here, which folder, book management app as the folder. So this project I have to fix the errors and run it. So now I don't need to do anything. Everything will be taken care by Copilot. It will simply go through the project files, fix it and run in another 2-3 minutes. Your project will be ready. It's updating the package.json file, fixing the errors, installing the required packages. It is installing all the required packages. Now it's trying to run this project. Okay, it opens the browser automatically and trying to run the project. If there is any error, no worries. It will automatically fix those problems. Okay, you can see there are some errors. So it is getting some error. Okay, so it is understanding the errors and automatically trying to fix it. Let's rerun. Sorry, this. I think it's created a different, so it's trying to run. Okay, now it is created. So now let me try to run this project manually from here. Okay, so this is the UI which is created, but I'm not satisfied with this. No problem. What I can do, find the Swagger documentation in this and update the API operations based on the Swagger endpoints, fix the errors, and okay, fine. I'm just writing a simple natural language prompt, and it is identifying the API endpoints from the swagger.json file and trying to fix the errors in this project. This is the home page, right? Update the which component. So here I'm asking the agent to fix the errors in the component. So here the UI is created, but it's giving some error that is failed to fetch. Okay, it's giving errors of Swagger JSON. Okay. So there is something wrong with the .NET application to allow all the origins. So JavaScript application is not able to access it. So is or else we can okay. So now we can see the list of books coming here. So this UI is designed by Copilot only. And you can see this is a form which is not looks good. So what I can ask Copilot, okay, what is the page I have to update? This create book form. Design the form in an attractive format. Just a simple prompt I'm writing. So this is the last example. So we have already created a backend application and there is a front-end application which is listing the list of books. And here is the form that is not looks good. So what I want the Copilot to edit this page and create a very nice UI for that. So let's wait for that Copilot to complete that. So this is a simple demo how to create a complete website using Copilot. You can see I have not written a single line of code for this. What I have written is just a natural language prompt, simple English prompt, which tells the Copilot what to do. And you can see it made the appropriate changes. If there is some error, okay, there is some error is coming in this one, no issues. I can copy this error and say some error, and this is the error, fix it. So there is some library is missing, so it is going to install that library. It's taking time to load. Now you can see how beautifully it has created the form. So this is the form which is created by the GitHub Copilot. So like this, you can create the entire project using Copilot. So I have created a backend application and a front-end React application just by writing some English prompt. So that's the power of generative AI and GitHub Copilot in the application development. Now the question, how you can try this? So since you are not part of any organization, means you are not working in any company, you may go and buy the subscription. Either you can pay and get the subscription with a Copilot Pro and Copilot Pro Plus, or you can register with the github.com and get a free subscription. So if you want to try something, there is a free Git option of GitHub Copilot. It is providing very limited completions per month. So every month, very limited number of operations you can do. But for a demo purpose, for your understanding, this is fine. This will give sufficient amount of request access to you. But if you want to go and use more features, more number of requests, then you can upgrade to a paid plan, that is GitHub Copilot Pro, Copilot Pro Plus, or if you are working in an organization, through the organization you can get the GitHub Copilot Business or GitHub Copilot Enterprise plans. So that's it from my side. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask in the chat or you can unmute yourself and ask. So here, how to set up the GitHub Copilot. I have already explained you how to get a plan, install the extension in the IDE, log into the GitHub Copilot account. That's it.